little over 2 years, I think, when we had the, I think it was 2020, right after Rip Oliver passed away, and because of COVID, we couldn't have the appearance in Tampa, I believe.
Yeah, we were going to do that autograph session with you in Tampa, but there was COVID canceled WrestleCon that year.
Right. Yeah, I miss that.
So what have you been up to? You've been disappeared for the past 2 years. I understand you got married.
Yes. Yeah. Thanks for bringing that up. I got married to a beautiful woman, and since we've been married, she's had horrific tragedies happen in her life, and I don't want to make it too personal, but you kind of have to. My wife lost her only son, who was a very good friend of mine. His name was Todd P. Kraft, and it was a big loss to everybody in the family. And he also was a power lifter and a part-time pro wrestler, and he bench pressed 551 pounds, which was a world record that's good for a year. And right after he passed away, I think either before or after, my wife's sister passed away. And then we talked about this once before, about the dogs in your life. They become a part of your family. And her dog passed away, and I think at 17 or 18, 19, I'm not really sure, Hannibal, but it was like losing a family member. And then she had a bad time with her thyroid, and she was in and out of the hospital for about 2 weeks. Thought we were going to lose her, but she's powerful. Come back. Now everything is normal. We're okay. Thank you.
Good. And how's your health personally? Are you back in the gym?
Yeah, Hannibal, I'm not back in the gym, but I'm doing 100 sit-ups at night, leg lifts, calf raises, and I run stairs. I'm kind of an addict on running stairs. And I'm up to, what am I? I'm up to 17 floors nonstop. And there's 40 flights to go, so I got a ways to go.
A lot of the fans wanted to know, have you heard about everything going on with Vince McMahon these days, that he recently retired from WWE because he paid over $10 million in hush money to various women he's had affairs with? There's a whole controversy going on.
That Hannibal couldn't happen to a nicer guy. I haven't been watching much, but I do know about what you're talking about that I read. All I can tell you is he's been getting away with this for years, decades. Matter of fact, I had my run-in with him in a hotel room where, I was raped with the pill. I think I was. I'm not really sure what happened. I can't really swear on a stack of Bible, but he did something with the normal, what they call them, the cream team back when I was there. And I woke up in the morning. I was completely naked except for my wrestling boots were on but not tied. And I had semen all around my face, and my eyes were food. One of them shut. And I was late for the next show. It was easier. I had the day off. I'm not sure. I can't be quoted on that. But yeah, I just saw it. Can you kind of run it by me again, Hannibal, what happened to these women?
Well, I guess he had affairs with these women, and he did, from what I understand, it was consensual affairs, but he paid them large amounts of money so they wouldn't go public with it. But somehow the non-disclosure agreements released, and so now there's a big investigation into it to make sure that he didn't use WWE money. It seems like it was his personal money being used, so I don't think it was anything illegal, but he retired last week from WWE. He stepped down. Now Stephanie is running WWE and Triple H is running creative.
Well, I've had plenty of talks with Vince McMahon. Like I've told everybody, I'm halfway through now a autobiography that I'm doing myself because I really don't. It's hard to tell somebody else your life. And I might 3/4 full one, but I doubt if I will. But there's not a human being on the face of this earth that deserves this more than Vince McMahon. He's gotten away with murder. There's no doubt about that. And for this to happen to Vince, it's a real knockout for him because he loves his business. He's an absolute genius. Hannibal, he really is. He built it from the ground up. And to go after a piece of ass, to lose his business, I think he's got to be in his 70s.
Yeah, he's about to turn 77.
77.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know what to say. We sued for $1 billion. The NFL won their lawsuit with CTE, and we lost ours. That's just the way it goes. You can't have a bitterness about it. It's the way the jury and the judge went with. We have to accept it and go with it.
That is true. And you are thinking about getting back in the ring for a special shoot fight thing, aren't you?
Well, I had never talked to you about it at all, except for, I think last night when you were preparing for this interview, because I contacted you. And, I'm 69 years old. And, I still got, one good fight left in me. Every boxer will tell you that. And I'm probably the best shape I've been in since WrestleMania 3, when I wrestled Hercules Hernandez, who passed away. And a lot of guys passed away. It's so sad. Loved him so much. But people may come out and say that I'm off my rocker and so forth. But I've watched Brock Lesnar, UFC. I think he's won the belt 3 times, and that's really hard to do in UFC. So, and my right knee cannot take this, so I cannot wrestle him. But he seems that he's a pretty good boxer. At least, in his eyes he does. But I know for a fact that I can knock him out if we do not have it's got to be no wrestling. It's got to be 1 minute rounds, 25 rounds with 1 minute rest. And I'll wear him out. And I got knockout power in either hand. A very good defensive fighter because that's all I worked out with professional boxers. And I told people before, Ken North, Gary Corey, Mike Corey, Andy Kimball, Bob Foster. I could go on a list that I was paid to spar with. And that I was paid actually to work on the street. And I don't think it takes very hard for people to figure out what I did. But I'm not proud of that. I'm talking about really challenging Brock Lesnar to a fist fight with UFC gloves. And I hit pretty hard. I know he does. So if he wants to wear headgear, he's more than welcome to. I'm not going to, though. But it's not going to go the full 25 rounds, obviously. But in my opinion, I am going to knock him out in between there sometime. And I'm not trying to brag, and both people don't get that. But trust me, I was 7-0 in the locker room fights, and I fought some tough cookies. I never backed down to nobody. And I know it's like you know, I respect you so much. Because I don't think anybody in the world could have beat you in Greco-Roman, any kind of freestyle, and that includes Brock Lesnar too. I think you had his style down perfectly. You would have beat it. That's me. What do you think, Apple?
Well, I would have loved to have fought Brock Lesnar. There'd be nothing for me to lose. But the problem you'll have if you want to have that fight is his WWE contract, which I think he makes about $12 million a year on. I don't know if they would allow him to do such a fight. But you did mention you were 7-0 in locker room fights. Who were all those against? Obviously, you've told us the Mike Sharp and Barry Windham, but who were the other ones?
Oh, geez. I you know me, Hannibal. I'm not a brag artist like that. Just like the ones that I remember was Big John Studd was one, and I guess it was after a match we had. I think it was in Connecticut, and I was wrestling with Paul Roma, a tag match against him, Studd, and Bundy. And, he was calling me out during the whole match, and we were, at the time, jobbers. And Paul Roma was beat, and, he was, saying the F word to both of us. And finally, I just kind of had it. I said, look, I'll see you back in the locker room, son of a bitch. And that's what I said. And so we went back in the locker room. He says, "Did you realize how much bigger I am than you?" And so I said, "Well, let's take it over here." And so we went over there, and Bundy also followed, but they're not here now, so they can't defend themselves. But I just dropped him with the left hook, and all we got to hit was a sucker punch. And he didn't get up for the full 10 count. But I didn't know what Bundy was going to do. I just was 2 against 1. Then that's 3. Let's see. That's a good question because my brain is. It was nice truck. Very windy.
Yeah, I think we all have the concussion issues due to both wrestling and fighting, so that affects memory from time to time.
There's one guy was asking Randy Savage. I'm trying to I was kind of Randy Savage's bodyguard. And Randy might tell you that, Randy Poffo. But he had challenged Randy, and I wish I could remember who it was, but we just had a pretty good fight. This guy was a tough guy, tough wrestler, but he was on the side of the road, and boom, and they caught him with a good shot. And look, I hate fighting, but I just can't back down. It's just wrestling. There's guys that go every night trying to take their position. And this was early WWF. Hannibal, the real early part. I got there in '84, and then let go, and then went back in '86. And I tell you what I'll do. I'll put my thinking cap on, and I'll remember. This is a question I wasn't prepared for, and I apologize.
Oh, no problem. Well, you're always welcome to come on anytime and talk about random stuff. One of the fans wanted to know your thoughts on Hercules, who you mentioned passed away. I know he was into some substance abuse issues. Were you aware of those, or you never saw that side of him?
No, I was well aware of him. and what he took and what also I took. But I would say 90% of the WWF wrestlers were on drugs because we had a doctor on site that we could see from Hershey, Pennsylvania, and we'd get anything we wanted to order and pick it up at the hotel, the next hotel that we flew to, and it'd be ready right there. And I broke my arm, or no, the back of my neck. I fractured the lower part of my back, and so I got on Vicodin and Percocet, and that's the worst thing that happened to me, Hannibal. So yeah, we were all taking drugs, steroids, and anybody who said so is I would have to call them on it. They can't admit it. Well, it's basically on them. I understand why they don't want to, though. But yeah, I took them. Herb took them, but we were all banged up. So what are you supposed to do? Vince knew it and had us out on the road. We couldn't get a day off. If we tried to, he threatened to fire us, and we're making 10, 14,000 a week back in those days. Who would put that kind of job? So,
Yeah, and the schedule was a lot harder. It wasn't like today. You guys were going 7 days a week, sometimes twice a day on weekends.
Yeah, that's true, Hannibal. Sometimes it was on Saturday and Sunday. We would go twice a day, so it made it 9 days a week. And the guys would walk around like zombies, and include me in that. The natural zombie anyway. But I loved the wrestler Hannibal. I get broken down in so many tears. I'm not ashamed to say when I start thinking about Randy Savage and Burt. Just so many people who have passed away that you miss and love. It's a kind of a brotherhood, and you yourself should be at the top of this game. You should be a main eventer in the WWF. I'll always say that. You have all the tools, Hannibal, and I know you don't want to say this yourself because you never do, but I'll do it for you. At one time, they had me in the top 5, 10 in the world, and Vince gradually threw me out, and it got to be to where I think I got the worst ranking wrestling. The worst ranked wrestler. I'm down like the 3.3, all because Vince hates me and controls the media. But I'm telling you, you are the best talent out there that they will, for some reason, just won't use. And it really pisses me off.
Well, I do appreciate that, but we all know the politics, and I'm happy being an interviewer. I would have liked those opportunities, but sometimes you have to accept what fate brings you. So somebody wants to know what your thoughts are on Lanny Poffo, and did you get along with him?
Absolutely. Lanny, and I think I heard Lanny do an interview on your show, and he said, yeah, Randy and Elizabeth, that I was the only one that he let ride with him, and that is the truth. I just loved Randy. Randy was my kind of guy, and Miss Elizabeth were just great people, and Randy loved his brother so much, and Lanny Poffo is just, to me, a first-class guy, and Randy passing away was awful tough on him. And he lost a lot of people. His dad, I think, passed away around that time. And hey, listen, my heart goes out to Lanny, and everybody.
Did you ever do any actual jail time for everything you were involved with, or did you always manage to stay one step ahead of the authorities?
I was pretty good at doing that. But I had some inside connections. And there's sometimes you can buy your way out, and sometimes you can't. So yeah, I served time, but there was also the article that I read on the internet that said that I had killed somebody, and was charged with manslaughter one. And I can tell you that that has never happened. And I'm glad to see that they turned that off my record. And also the fact that I had three wives, which I've been married. Yes, this is my third marriage. They had me down as two women I never even heard of before on the internet, Wikipedia. Um, so they'll get some things wrong, but they're just trying to do their job, and I'm not upset about that at all. But no, I never served any big time. Probably in my lifetime, um, one of the worst ones was in the military, because I was getting ready to go to Vietnam in the 1st Infantry Division, and I was at a Fort Riley, Kansas, and I was pretty gung-ho at that time. I was 17, and I got in a fight in the locker room, Joey Jack, my mother and my uncle were murdered in 1969. That was just 5 weeks apart, which destroyed my dad. My dad eventually went blind from diabetes and lost his foot, so he was really in bad shape, and I loved him so much, and he was my life, actually. And so I tried my best to go, but eventually I had to, do that 6 months prison time in Fort Lewis, Washington, and then came home, took care of my papa, and then eventually got into drug dealing. Started small and ended up big.
And a few of the fans on here, I don't think you were really ever into the groupies. You mentioned you had three wives. You were more of a girlfriend type of guy, weren't you?
Yeah. One thing, you and I very seldom disagree on anything, and I just wanted to tell you that the last time I think you did an interview with Jeannie Clark or Jeannie Haynes one time. Jeannie was a great woman, but you really gotta go back to the assets of it, the money. Uh, I I really didn't want to say anything bad against her, but she was coming out saying that I was lying about Stone Cold, beating her and slapping her around. And I told her that no, it has happened, and she told me about it. But let's go back to her first wife that had the baby, Jude. And it was Chris Adams, a wrestler who was from England, also a great wrestler. But if he ever got high, he would beat her, he'd slap her. I met her when she was after a wrestling show in Salem, Oregon. I was driving home, and I seen her with pouring down rain, and I seen a figure walking. She could have got hit by a car real easy, but I pulled over because I saw it was her, and I gave her a ride back. And actually, I gave her right back to my house and let her take a shower and had some clothes for her to put on. And Chris was going to Japan, and it was a big thing. He was always hitting on her, hitting hard. And so I let her spend the night at my house, no sex, no nothing. And then I gave her a ride where she wanted to go back to, and I walked up to the stairs with her, and he came to the door, and I said, Chris, you cannot be hitting on this woman. If you do, it's going to be you and me outside. And she was bruised up pretty good in the face. So he said, man, I was so high last night, I don't know what happened. So he said, okay, no problem. The very next day, he did the same thing. So it was on again. And so I had to do something about it. So he went to Japan. So I said to her, I said, do you want to get married? And that'll keep you here. You can have your, you can stay in the United States as long as you want. And he thought about it for about 2 minutes and said yes. He do it. So we got married in Roseburg, Oregon, and she got her visa. He got her visa, and we stayed in Oregon. We stayed married for about a year. It wasn't a love thing, very little sex thing. It wasn't about sex, about defending her. So he went to Japan. When he came back, I was in the dressing room, and he started yelling at Jeannie. And I told him, I said, quit yelling at my wife. I mean, you can imagine that one, right?
Yeah.
So it took him away. But anyway, she got out of that one. It's true, but she's making big money from Stone Cold, man. I mean, his money is a lot better than mine. So I stay with him too.
Yeah, I'll stay out of this one. I'll stay out of this one, but I'll let you say whatever you want about that. I don't know her or Austin that well.
Yeah, and I gave her 10 grand in deporting. She was a great woman. I never had anything against that woman. And she's doing real good from what I hear. Just what you hear. I don't know. I wish her the best on HANNIBAL.
Now, you tagged with Hulk Hogan several times. What was it like working with him?
Working with Hulk Hogan?
Yeah.
I tell you, the guy had tremendous charisma. It's probably, I think Roddy Piper, who is a very, 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 very close friend of mine, and he's from Oregon as well, 30 miles away from where I live. But I don't know, his moves to me weren't good. Everything he did to me looked bad in the ring. I like to look like a shoot in the ring, like a lot of guys do. But as far as overall in the business, there's no question that he saved the business. Having a big name like that, and the way he put on the act of, going for it, I'm a free American, all that. He actually saved pro wrestling, in my opinion, and so did Vince at that time. But a lot of people didn't like it in HANNIBAL because they invaded different territories, and a lot of people were against that. And Harley Race was one of them. I talked for hours with Harley. So there's different opinions on this.
Now, another the tough guys was David Schultz. Did you ever have much interaction with him?
I tell you, man, there's you bring up. I never had any problem with the tough guys. Never. I mean, there was a couple, but Dr. D. David Schultz helped me a great deal. I broke in Portland, and then he sent me down with him and to Calgary. I remember we drove one time. I think we drove to Calgary for a Friday show. Right after Salem, we left. And I hadn't smoked pot since I was 24. And Dr. Dean and me, and he said, man, why one of these things up? We'd smoke with Billy. Come on, man. I said, man, I can't do that. No, you're going to do it, man. You know the way he talked. And, I got to admit, I broke down. I smoked some bud with Dr. Dean. And it was good stuff, man. But that was a lot. That's something different. But I just really like Dr. D. David Schultz. And would back him, and he would back me. And I just love him to death, man. He's a great guy.
and he's still doing well. I interviewed him a couple of months ago. When you were in WWE, did you have like a travel partner that you would be on the road with?
Hannibal, just basically, no, I didn't. Only when Lanny Poffo and is it Lanny, Randy, Elizabeth, and I think that was the only time when I wrestled or drove individually. But I used to always hook up with Lanny and Randy and Elizabeth, and that was it. And a lot of times we just flew. We were just right there anyway, right? We didn't have to drive anywhere unless we got on 3-4 days in California. Other than that, we didn't have to drive too much, hardly at all.
Did you know Bruiser Brody at all?
Yes, yeah. There's something I can't talk about because it's going to be in my lifetime autobiography. Yeah, I last time I talked to Bruiser when he changed over from All Japan to New Japan where I was, and we had a long talk. And Rick Oliver was also there, and you're going to be very surprised on this. And but I can't talk about it. I was told not to, and I won't. But he was a great guy. I know that. I knew him, and he always talked about his wife. I believe her name was Barbara, and she had a son. And he definitely was a tremendous athlete. Hannibal. He's one of those really kind of freak of nature athletes. He's like you. He was just a great athlete, and so was Brody. Yeah. Very few come along.
Well, you were a pretty good athlete too. You bench pressed over 500 pounds in your prime, didn't you?
I was more of a repetition, and I was on Decadero Ballin, and I had 22-inch arms in my peak. And there's one picture that's on somewhere. I'll send it to you. But that's when I had 22-inch arms and about 18, 19-inch forearms. But once again, I don't want to sound like I'm bragging. I hate that because it was on steroids, man. And when you get off steroids and you shrink, well, you feel like crap.
Yeah.
But hey, yeah. Anybody who says they weren't on steroids back in the 80s, I really would question it, but would not want to call him a liar.
I'm interviewing Ken Patera soon. Did you have much interaction with him? He's really popular on my channel.
I don't know if he's working or if he's shooting with that. I don't know. That's a good question. Ken, I just loved. I had the best time in the WWF when I had Ken Patera as my tag team partner, and then also Brady Boone, who died in a tragic car wreck in Atlanta when he was refereeing for Atlanta. It was WCW. And he was my cousin out in Portland. But I talked to him, to Ken Patera about the lawsuit. We talked about a half hour, and there was no problems at all. He wanted in on the lawsuit. We talked for quite a while. And finally, I see him on your site, saying that Bailey Jack's a criminal and all this stuff.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that. I totally forgot about that.
And I don't know. I don't care what he says, man.
Oh, I think we lost Billy for a second here. Hold on a second, guys. I'm going to give him a call back. I have a friend here that ordered food and it accidentally knocked him up. Your food's here, Destiny. I'm calling Billy back. Sorry, guys. I'll ask a few more questions, and we'll have Billy back on again. But yeah, sorry about getting cut off there. Hopefully he'll call back in a second. I guess all of you guys aren't watching Ric Flair's final match like I am. Like I'm not either, because I'd much rather talk to Billy Jack Haynes than watch that. But did anyone watch SummerSlam yesterday? I didn't hear too much about it. Let's see if Billy messages. Sorry, guys. Calling him back. He has been having some phone issues today due to the heat wave in Arizona. So we might call it an interview for now and check back in with him in the near future. So I'll call it for now, guys. Thank you for all your questions, and I'll have Billy back on again. And hopefully there won't be a heat wave next time, and we'll be able to get some video of him too. So thanks for all your questions, and if you're not subscribed. I'm almost at 330,000 subscribers. I'm only about 200 shy, so subscribe, help me out, and we do stream on Facebook too at The Hannibal TV. Thank you for watching The Hannibal TV. Please help me out and like this video, then click the subscribe and get notifications buttons so you don't miss any of my latest shoot interviews, match videos, or news updates. Follow us on Facebook at The Hannibal TV